Chelsea Smith, audio recording demo. She's No Fairy Princess by Christine Warren. The only way you can help me, he grumbled, abruptly backing up a few steps and resuming his earlier pacing, is by doing whatever it is you do to magic yourself something to wear that looks less like it came out of a Victoria's Secret catalog. Then you can follow me back to the fairy gate you came in through and get the hell home before anyone important realizes you were ever here. Fiona blinked and raised an eyebrow. That was a little harsh. Is that what passes for manners in the mortal world lately? No wonder we have so many jokes about the irony of mortal civilization where I come from. His head snapped around and he scowled at her through fiercely narrowed eyes. Now is not a good time for you to lecture me, sweetheart. The predatory glow in those wolfish eyes caught Fiona by surprise and sent a shiver of awareness skittering down her spine. All at once her senses seemed to register the power of his muscled body, the breadth of his lightly furred and distractingly bare chest, the heat that radiated off him in waves, along with something subtler, deeper, and infinitely more unnerving. The Grimrose Path by Rob Thurman. Spilt milk. My mama had a saying for every occasion under the sun, but even she didn't lay claim to that one. I didn't know who did, but everyone had heard it. It had been around forever. Don't cry over spilt milk. There's no point to it. You can't change it, can't put it back, can't make it better. You simply cleaned it up and went on. Because that was life. Life wasn't always fair, and some things in life couldn't be undone. They could be avenged. Damn straight they could. But not undone. They could teach a lesson, if anyone was around to learn from it, or smart enough to get the point. Yet the bottom line was always the same. Spilt milk was spilt milk. An inconvenience, or a pain, an annoyance, and sometimes even a tragedy. But whichever it was, it didn't matter. You might want to, but you couldn't turn back time. You couldn't close your eyes and pretend it was a bad dream. You couldn't avoid the truth, and that was a cold, hard fact. You couldn't unspill that milk. You couldn't make it better. You couldn't make it right. Two Gentlemen of Verona by William Shakespeare. O hateful hands, to tear such loving words! Injurious wasps, to feed on such sweet honey and kill the bees that yield it with your stings! I'll kiss each several paper for amends. Look, here is writ, kind Julia. Unkind Julia! As in revenge of thy ingratitude I throw thy name against the bruising stones, trampling contemptuously on thy disdain. And here is writ, love-wounded Proteus. Poor wounded name! My bosom as a bed shall lodge thee till thy wound be thoroughly healed. And thus I search it with a sovereign kiss. But twice or thrice was Proteus written down. Be calm, good wind, blow not a word away till I have found each letter in the letter, except mine own name, that some whirlwind bear into a ragged, fearful hanging rock, and throw it thence into the raging sea. Lo, here in one line is his name twice writ. Poor, forlorn Proteus, passionate Proteus, to thy sweet Julia. That I'll tear away, and yet I will not, sith so prettily. He couples it to his complaining names. Thus will I fold them one on another. Now kiss, embrace, contend, do what you will. The Ordinary Princess by M.M.K. The last and most important of the fairy godmothers had arrived late because of a traffic jam on the road to the palace. Her name was Crustacea, and she was the fairy in charge of water, which meant that she was the head fairy of all the seas, pools, ponds, lakes, and rivers. She was very old and rather deaf, and her temper was always inclined to be a little uncertain when she was on dry land. But for all that, she was a very powerful and important lady, and all the guests made way for her as she hobbled up to the cradle. The queen bowed most graciously to her, and the king muttered something about being pleased to see her, while the old fairy peered at them over the top of her horn-rimmed spectacles. I wish, said the old fairy crossly, that people who give large parties would take the trouble to see that the traffic is properly controlled. Your police appear to be quite useless. Would you believe it, I was held up in a crush of carriages for over half an hour. Me, at my age. I cannot turn door dust, and I am almost dry as a bone. And indeed, her long seaweedy robe was hardly damp, instead of nice and sea-watery as she liked it. The Queen was full of apologies and sent out at once for a bowl of salt water from the royal fish ponds. Trickster Makes This World by Lewis Hyde. Chapter 2. That's my way, Coyote, not your way. The Bungling Host. To say simply that Trickster lives on the road doesn't give the full nuance of the case, for the impression one often gets is that Trickster travels around aimlessly, and the roads lead from one place to another. Here's how the Chinese Monkey King is described at one point. Today he toured east, and tomorrow he wandered west. He had no definite itinerary. Moments of transition in Native American stories typically read, as he continued his aimless wandering. Maybe the point of saying that Trickster is on the road is to say that he has the context of no context in George W.S. Trow's wonderful phrase. To be in a particular town or city is to be situated. To be on the road is to be between situations and not, therefore, oriented in the ways that situations orient us. Baha'i Teachings for a New Millennium. Supporting Women. Women and men have always been and will always be equal in the sight of God. The dawning place of the light of God sheddeth its radiance upon all with the same effulgence. Verily God created women for men, and men for women. Pa'alu. And among the teachings of Pa'alu is the equality of men and women. The world of humanity has two wings. One is women, and the other men. Not until both wings are equally developed can the bird fly. Should one wing remain weak, flight is impossible. Not until the world of women becomes equal to the world of men in the acquisition of virtues and perfections can success and prosperity be attained as they ought to be. Adulba.